Hello everyone, welcome to 4100. This is just going to be a quick course overview video. I wanted to do this video just to get you familiar with Canvas, to go over a few of my expectations before we start class here pretty soon. I'm coming to you live from my son's bedroom, the middle schooler that he is, so I apologize beforehand for the reckless unorganization that you may see behind me. For any of you that have preteen or teenage sons and daughters, you know exactly what I'm talking about. So I want to do this video for a couple of reasons. Number one, I don't want us to spend a whole lot of class time involved in any kind of direct lecturing or direct instruction from me. Zoom and being online is already challenging in and of itself, but also a great opportunity. But I really would like to set my course up in a way so that most of the instruction that we have in class asynchronously is very active and engaging. And a lot of the stuff that you can do outside of class via these lectures or any kind of direct instruction from me can be done in that outside of class space. That way, it's not being interrupted by faulty internet connection or anything else that happens in class. And you can also learn some of these concepts at your own pace. You notice that I tend to talk a little quickly, so feel free as you play this video back to slow me down. Or if I'm boring and monotone, speed me up and get through me quickly. As long as you get the information, that's what's most important. So that's reason number one. Reason number two is this is what good teachers do. The first couple of weeks of school, you don't or shouldn't expect to teach content at all. Really, this is how you start your first couple of weeks with a new class and a new group of students. You want to set those expectations. You want to really clarify for students what it is that you expect in your classroom. So when people ask, well, what do you teach in your first couple of weeks of school? You teach this. You teach students how to learn in your classroom and how to navigate your classroom before you ever get to any of the content. Because if you don't do that first, it's going to be really confusing and a hard time for students to understand your content as they're also trying to simultaneously learn how you run and manage your classroom. So with that said, I want to model that for you today on ways in which you can set up your classroom, or at least manage your classroom, and communicate those expectations in an online space. Typically, face-to-face, you would spend a couple days or even the first week or so going through some of these things. But since we're online, we don't have that opportunity. This is one tool to do it. You just screencast yourself, show your students your video or your PowerPoint or your screen, and walk them through the expectations that you have for helping them learn in an online space. So that's my first strategy for you. Hope you're able to use that even in your own field experience right now. So let's dive right in to the Canvas course. So you can see on my screen right now, this is the Canvas course. Once you get in, you'll notice the home page. I kind of made a silly little cartoon video just of myself, just to once again clarify who I am and my expectations. This is always really important as students start to come to your class, and now you're coming to a virtual space. Am I in the right spot? That's usually a question students ask. Is this the right class? Are you my right teacher? Am I in the right spot? So I put that video there just so you know you're in the right spot. You can see title of the class. You can see I'm your instructor, so you know that you're not in the wrong spot. So if you see that on your homepage in Canvas, you're in the right spot. And then on the side here are all the different links, but I try to make it user-friendly for you just to help you navigate. The most important place you want to be is in the modules. And so once you click modules, you'll see Class Central. I may put a few things here as the course evolves. But I also, let me go ahead and go back really quick because I want to make this easier for you. Let me go back to my homepage. Sorry to interrupt. I just had this epiphany. I want to put you in student view so you can kind of see what it looks like from your view. So this is what you'll see instead of seeing it in my view. So you want to go ahead and click the modules again. So you'll see the class schedule under Class Central. I may add a couple of other essential things. I realize putting this here will be helpful for you, so you kind of always have a central hub of where I want you to go. The class schedule, I spent a lot of time on, and you notice that it's malleable. It's always going to be changing. It's going to be updated, but the relevant core pieces are there, and that's what matters. And in terms of the week-to-week things, they may be updated in terms of pre-class assignments, and I'll talk about that here briefly. But you'll notice that things are hyperlinked. So for example, if you are wanting to get to the course introduction module, you would click that, and it would take you to the course introduction module. And so it's really simple, right, to get to where you need to be. You don't have to navigate a kind of a crazy Canvas module as it goes. And so all of these things will be hyperlinked. I'll make sure too that we go over these readings, but I do want you to read chapters 1 through 2 of Thrive Not Survive before we start class. All of these readings you should have read before you come to class. Simultaneously, the assignments, assessments. These green assignments are typically pre-class assignments. and I put those in the module. But again, they're on this class schedule, so you can easily click and get to them. But if you want to see it from the module view, this is how I've organized the module. So typically in the module, I'll give you an overview of the week. Once you kind of click the overview, lets you know kind of what we're focusing on in class, the objectives for class, and what I expect you to do before we start class. So just another access point for you. If we go back to the modules, I also put pre-class activities. This means these are things you should be doing before class begins. And I will be teaching you more about that as you go through this model, but I am using a flipped classroom model. So again, a lot of that direct instruction, a lot of that lecturing will be done at your own time before class. And then when you come to class, we're going to get right to it and start doing application and practice and some of that critical work that needs to be done. So pre-class activities, typically there'll be two categories. A study category, these are the things I want you to kind of, again, read, learn, ask questions about, and you go through there. And then for some reason it's not showing, but right here there should be a spot, and I am not going to re-record this video at this point in the game, but there should be a do tab, and that do will show, at least for this upcoming week, and that'll be updated when you see it, that there are these two activities that I want you to do before you come to class. So there's the study portion and the do portion. And so that will be typically what each week's module looks like. You'll notice at this point that there are no other modules past week one. I did that for a reason. I don't want you to get too overwhelmed. And so I thought, let's just start with week one. And right before we start class each week, I will open up the following week's module. That way you can kind of start to keep track of, or at least it's more manageable to keep track of all this information that's coming at you in an online space. So I hope that's helpful. We can always negotiate that and, in class, if you want to see more of it, I can open up more if you need to. But that's kind of my thinking and rationale. I've noticed in prior classes, especially last semester and in other online classes that I taught, students seem to get really overwhelmed with a lot of information online, and they get confused on where things are. So it's just easier to just kind of chunk it for you, go week by week. So that is essentially how to navigate Canvas. I would, again, encourage you highly to constantly go to the class schedule. Everything's linked. You get to the module, you do your readings, and then this will be currently updated with kind of pre-class assignments that I want you to do, as well as the assessments, which are in red, are the big major assignments that I will be grading. And you can click those and go right to the assignment, and they'll have descriptions and different things like that. So as again, I'm going to say this is subject to change. It was last updated on the 12th. I want to let you continually know when it's being updated so you're aware of when I've changed things. But most importantly, this is malleable and it's also negotiable, right? So if there are things that are easier for you or things you need to see, or there's things that we negotiate together and co-construct together as a class, I'm willing to do that. And so for example, if you scroll down to one of these assignments and you click it and you're like, hey, that's not working, or it's not functionable, let's make it functionable, is what I'm kind of hoping to intend to say here. So in a nutshell, that is Canvas and your quick overview of how to navigate this course, right? So go to modules, everything's in the module page or in the class schedule page as we go throughout the semester. So other things that I want to make sure that we're clear of, these are just kind of my side expectations. So number one, timeliness is hugely important in teaching. We expect you to be to your sites on time. We expect you to show up for kids. Don't be late for them. So we kind of start to develop that professional habit and that professional disposition in you from the outset. So for this class, I will always open class about 10 minutes before class starts. I also have 3 kids, so bear with me that I will do my best to do that, but there may be some days where something happens or there's an emergency. But I will try to have class open 10 minutes before class starts. Please be on time, right? So use that 10 minutes to get in, to make sure your internet's functioning, make sure everything's looking good, turn your camera on. If that's an issue, let's talk about it in my office hours, but I'd love to be able to connect with you face to face so I can see you eye to eye. Make sure you're in an appropriate setting. If your crazy background looks like mine, put up a virtual background, just to make sure that we can see each other and connect with one another. So try to show up during those 10 minutes, be in class, make sure you're troubleshooting everything so that when I start class, and you'll notice I'll do this on day one, when I start class right at 4 o'clock, you're ready to go. And at that point, I also have a waiting room. And if I start teaching and you're late at 4 o'clock, I might not get to you right away. And then you might miss things, and I'd hate for that to happen too. So make sure you're on time, if not early. In class, just basic expectations that you can learn from this page right here, expectations for online learning. Just make sure you mute yourself. I will unmute you if I need to, or I will mute all of you at the beginning, just so it's easier for people to hear. And again, unmute yourself when necessary. I think these are all things that you should be familiar with. So again, being on time, come to class, and make sure you understand those kind of online pieces, which you'll read more about there. And then last but not least, my final expectation is come ready to work. Teaching's hard, but it's fun. And we're going to constantly be learning how to get better. And so be prepared for that. And also be prepared to fail a little bit. And we're going to talk about that in the first class. I can't wait for that. We're going to be doing a lot of practice-based learning. So a lot of rehearsing, a lot of micro-teaching, a lot of collaborative learning together, and a lot of showing and demonstrating our practice in front of one another. We need to create a culture and a space where it's okay to fail. It's okay to mess up. It's okay to stop and recorrect and try it again. So be prepared to come into this class with that kind of attitude and with that kind of disposition, and we're going to have a great semester. So I think that is really, in a nutshell, all I wanted to share with you is just a kind of class overview. If I missed anything, please write down any questions you have, so that way when we come to class that first night, we don't have to do a lot of lecturing. You can just ask me those questions and we can get those things cleared up and get to work. So I look forward to working with all of you here pretty soon. And again, any questions or concerns, email me, or I will look forward to answering those questions in class on Monday, August 24th. See you then.